guys, welcome back to another lesson in the After Effects course from videoschoolonline.com. Today let's continue talking about the timeline. Last time we talked a little bit about the basic functions and edits you can make using this drop-down menu in the timeline when you add layers to your composition. But there are so many other little buttons and things that you want to be aware of. So going from left to right, basically you have this eyeball that turns on and off a layer. This circle one, it solos a layer, so if you have a bunch of layers but you only want to pay attention to one, you can turn on the solo layer and solo layer. Lock, this lock will lock a layer so you can't make any changes to it. That's often helpful. You can change the color of your layers. This helps in organizing, different sections of your animations or different parts. You can organize, group all your photos into a group, all your text with colors, however you want to do that. You have your layer name. These next few ones I'm not going to talk about down here, but then you have a couple buttons over here. You have a blur function, a motion blur option that you can check on and off, and this turns on motion blur when you're animating, and this makes your animations look a little bit more natural. You have this 3D cube, and this turns your layer into a 3D layer, and we have a whole chapter about that. Parenting, again, we'll talk about that in the future, but basically you can lock a layer to another layer. So basically, if you parent this sidewalk layer to the brick wall layer, whatever you do to the brick wall layer, you will do to the sidewalk layer. So say I want to change the scale. See how the sidewalk layer is locked to the brick wall layer. If you do this toggle switches modes button down here, you'll come up with some more options. This blending mode button will bring up all sorts of blending modes, and these are really fun to play with. We'll talk about those more. It's basically different ways that your layers blend with each other. So for example, we have a vivid color, classic difference. It makes different effects for when you have layers overlapping each other. This preserve underline transparency, these things are very advanced, so we'll do those in later lessons. Up here at the top, the one you will need to pay attention to right now is this motion blur. So you have to click this motion blur on to make sure that the motion blur is actually set. What I mean by that is if you don't have this checked, but you have motion blur set for particular layers, even if you render this out, it won't have motion blur unless you enable it by pressing this motion blur button right there. There's different options up here, but those are more advanced. So for now, we'll just stick to the basics. Again, as we talked about in one of the first lessons, this is your timeline. You see the frames and the time up top. You can zoom in by this top light gray bar, clicking on the yellow edge. You can zoom into your work area by this bottom light gray bar, and you can move it around by clicking the gray in the center and sliding it, or increasing the length of time by clicking the yellow edges. Then you have your your workplace wherever you want it to be. So say you have an animation in the first couple seconds and you only want to pay attention to that, then you have it here. To render out your footage, to play it, you can't just press the space bar. Typically, if you have a lot of animations or edits, you are going to have to press on a Mac, Control 0 is going to render it out. And you can tell it's rendered out because a little green bar appears above your rendered out portion, like that. If you have a keyboard that has a number pad to the right side of your letters, you can press the 0 on the number pad to render out and play your footage. So again, just pressing spacebar, it might work, but typically you'll have to render it out by pressing Control 0 to actually play. So it's a lot different than your regular video editor, Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut, iMovie. It's not something where you just go press play, all the time. You don't just put your timer, your little line at 3 seconds, your marker at 3 seconds, and press play. You have to be very intentional about when you play and render it out, because it takes a lot of time and computer energy and memory to render out your footage and play it for you. And you'll get the hang of it as we move forward with actually starting to animate and do things in After Effects. These are still lessons just to get you prepared to start your projects, because After Effects is such a robust and confusing program at the start. But once you get the hang of it, you're going to love it, and you're going to be able to make some awesome stuff with it. So that's all I want to talk to you for now about the timeline. And finally, we're going to start getting into actually animating and doing what After Effects does in the next few lessons. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you have any questions, you can always contact me at videoschoolonline.com, or just message me through the course page or in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a great one.